Hi, welcome to another video about my personality disorder. I'm a diagnosed narcissist, but keep in mind that I'm not a licensed professional. I only speak about all of this through my own lens. With that all being said, success. I've always had a bit of a complicated relationship with it because do I want success? I mean, yes, no. I guess it depends on what we're talking about specifically when we go about success. Now, I think the earliest traces of my narcissism goes back to a lot of things that would hypothetically, let's say, if I don't know, I guess just did something wrong, at least like in the eyes of my dad, let's say. And when we'd argue long enough or get into like a spat, the thing that he'd often say to me is, I just want you to succeed. And honestly, I always hated when he said that because it gave me the impression that oh, he is the one that truly can't admit that, he's wrong and I'm smarter and I actually make more sense, at the very least in that instance. So it would irritate me even more because I would then think to myself, okay, why do I want to impress a whole bunch of like randoms from like society? Like, why the fuck do I give a shit if you guys think I'm good enough of a person or not? I thought that in that instance, at least. Like, I don't know. Like, seriously, like, why do I care? Like, I never really understood why people, fell into peer pressure because at the very least, I've had, slightly different experiences like when it comes to that. And I guess it's because, I don't know, normal people feel more of a weight and a burden from like other people due to like expectations and like whatnot. Whenever I'd get into trouble with people growing up, like throughout my life, I'm not even trying to talk about like anything specific, but like let's just say, I mean, well, yeah, because dealing with other people, they give their criticisms, their comments, whatever, and I don't know. In this like society, we're trying to assimilate people into like specific like boxes or like whatever. Now, I never really cared to entertain those things, to be honest. Like as far as it was like growing up, because the more that I saw hypothetically that like people wanted me to be a certain way and I just didn't care and I still like did my own thing, it gave me a sense of power because yes, I got the impression that so many people only feel confident with like the rally of like other people. And yeah, it did give me this sense that like, oh, I must be better than all these other people. I must be better than like all of you because I only consult myself. I don't really need permission from anyone else as to like whether or not my thinking whatever is like good enough for like the dumb stupid fucking like society or like whatever. And the more that like I've spent time in this like stupid world, I've thought that okay, what do I really want out of like success or like whatever? At at a lot of times, it kind of just seemed like a pointless word to me because I thought that if I fit a certain category of like what success means, someone else can still like shit on it because okay, everybody wants different things, right? Everybody has like different aspirations and like goals or like whatever. So I kind of thought of success as just this like really really like manipulative word because it's almost like maybe the more mature way of saying that like you're part of the cool kids club or some bullshit like that, like the mature way of essentially saying, oh, be a part of our fucking treehouse and don't be like those like lame ass motherfuckers. So I'm like, did anything really change? It seems like just as petty. Like hypothetically, when you were younger and surrounded by like different sort of like cliques and stuff, and then people would do their arbitrary social dynamics where it's like, oh, do this and you can be a part of us, you can be like one of us. And it's like it never stops because like they always say, for example, like yeah, that like, oh, nobody cares who you were in high school, blah blah blah, like things like that, like, oh, you got to go to like the real world. But I'm just like, is it not the same shit? Like you just call it different things, like, oh, a career, work. Like it's not really grades anymore, let's say, when you were like, yeah, younger and like still going to school. Like it's all essentially the same petty crap. They just have like different names and like labels now. So I feel like I kind of like always saw through it. And I'm just like, you motherfuckers are still like, I don't know, like you don't have like assurance in yourself And I always thought to myself, like, oh yeah, again, this makes me so much better than like other people, because you guys seem like cardboard cutouts if like you only need the approval of other people saying that like you're okay. But then again, am I saying that I don't, let's say, enjoy getting external validation? I mean, not exactly. Because when people say nice things about me, I'm not going to cap. Like, I absolutely do eat it up. Like, if anything, if you're going to talk to me, I would prefer you just, say something of like a compliment, something that, like, makes me sound like I'm like above and beyond like other people or something. Like, maybe a lot of people that are complimenting me might not even call me like a god or something. Like, I can only wish somebody would do that. But, if you can say anything that like makes me seem better in like any capacity, like if you say that like I'm attractive, oh, then that means, even if that's not what you intend, I take it as like, okay, you're still saying that like I'm better than somebody, because I don't imagine that you would just call anybody like attractive and like stuff like that. But then again, I've obviously also been called unattractive by people. And honestly, I've had like plenty of like mixed like reactions. So let's say more like negative things, because like on the one hand, I think I also kind of eat that up as well, because I don't know if this is like a particularly like narcissist thing. I've realized that whenever people are saying good or bad things about you, you hold essentially some kind of power over them. Because, okay, kind of like what I've already established, like if I'm getting compliments, it's good. I might as well just like, think of myself as a god, and I'm essentially just looking at you as like somebody that's like my worshiper. Like, that's the only reason you should exist, if I'm being honest. But then again, if somebody says like negative things about me, then I know that my existence bothers them. And it gives me this like, yeah, like another form of like power, that like simply being the way I am is already taking up like headspace and like rent space in like somebody's mind. And I'm not even doing like any extra work to like go about that. If I'm just like being myself and like you're already upset, like genuinely, I will eat that up. That feels just as good. Now, I don't actually know which of those I want more, because like if anything, I just want like a full like excessive amount of it. So I guess like the way I see it, I don't really have a preference for like either or. And I think in a way this might have contributed to like a lot of the reasons why I don't necessarily, or I don't necessarily have like the best track record at like ambition throughout my life, because I've just taken anything that anybody's given me in terms of like evaluation of like my character, personality, or whatever, to like, work in my favor. Because like back again to that like example of like, okay, somebody can call me attractive, and yeah, I'll dig that. But then somebody can call me ugly, and I'm just like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad that I make your eyes uncomfortable. Like, the only thing that I would wish for is that you have a sleep paralysis demon that looks like me. The only thing I would wish for is that when you look out your window at night, you see my face, even though I'm not actually there. I hope that, like, knowing what I look like and being so disgusted by it, let's say if, like, that were your case, is so, like, carved and, like, burned in your memory that it essentially gives you, like, the same effect of, like, PTSD, let's say. And, it all works like all well and like dandy for me. So when I think of this life, I don't actually know what I deem as like good or bad, because okay, whatever thing I can get, I can like make it work like in my favor. And I see how everybody else is actually the ones that are like so, I don't know, dependent upon like other people and stuff. And I'm just like, I have a combination of both. But then again, it all still fades and like hollows out, because like, okay, even though let's say I enjoy people saying nice things about me, or if I can even enjoy people saying like negative things about me, it all truly just fades away, because I know that I'm blank and like I'm empty. So whatever it is that like you're criticizing or even praising, at best, I know that that version of me will only accept it in time. Yeah, like that version of me, like specifically, like right here, right now, I'm back to my natural state, which isn't actually a person. Like, I essentially always feel like, I'm a non entity. So I don't know how to go about that, because like success, I guess, is also like a self-esteem sort of thing to like a lot of people. And like if you're a narcissist like me, like it's, I don't know, not quite like the simplest thing, because yeah, I don't know. Like I go throughout my life and I'm just like, oh wow, this is like super great hypothetically if I'm like, achieving the things that like I want. But then again, at the same time, I know that like if I fail in any capacity, or I'm deemed like not good enough like in the slightest, I'm just like, oh okay, good, because like I can think about you only in the sense that you're going to say something good or like positive about me. But if not, I only want to think of you being miserable because of me. Because that's kind of how I feel about myself. Like very like all or nothing. I either feel like I'm on top of the world, or I'm, nothing, like, just extremely terrible, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So I guess it makes sense that like when I look at other people, I only try to make that like work in my favor, because like if you're gonna think I'm like really really terrible or like really really awful, then like okay, I hope even the sound of my name, let's say, makes you like cringe or like whatever. Or if you think I'm like really really great in like any capacity, then like yeah, like the mention of my name, like makes your eyes like like light up or something. And like I do admittedly fantasize that like okay, if you like me or like say good things about me, how much of that can I, let's say, influence if I like wanted to? And I don't even necessarily think that's fucked, because that's what I've noticed about like the world like in general. Like maybe other people won't like say it out loud because like oh my gosh, things like manipulation are only something that like people with personality disorders do, and like things like that. Yeah, like whatever. I mean, yeah, call it my distortion. I don't really care, but I'm just like I see manipulation everywhere, and I feel like me and let's say a whole bunch of like other narcissists, if they would say the same as well, like yeah, like we're the ones that can like admit it or something. Because the more people find you likable, the more power and influence you have over them. Why would anybody tune in to like celebrities or blah 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 or like things like that? Because just the idea that like somebody's perfect and you don't even have to know them is like enough to like feel something like amazing. Like, are we surprised, for example, that like Eminem wrote his song like Stan, let's say? Like, I'm certainly not. So, I don't know. Like, how I am is like clearly just like dependent upon you. I'm a good guy if you deem me a good guy. I'm the worst and most terrible person if you like deem me as so. But admittedly, because of like narcissistic tendencies, those negative feelings only affect me if I'm saying them to myself. If I'm actually the one like, that's like bullying myself. So truly, I will only feel bad about this life. I feel like I will only feel like I don't know, like not worthy if, let's say, by the end of it I decided that like okay, that I wasn't. But I kind of just imagine that like if it were hypothetically to be like changed, like let's say it could have been like the final moments of my life and I was like feeling like really really terrible, I know my self-esteem will fluctuate anyway, to the point where I know I'm going to get like grandiosity back. Because the way I see it, life is just like a series of like masks that we have to wear, because unfortunately we have to deal with all the terrible bullshit people out there, everybody with their agendas, everybody with their this and this and that. So like, do I want to be successful? Yes and no. Do I consider myself successful? Also yes and no. So, yeah. So I've spent so much of my life feeling so amazing, yet feeling so much hate for myself as well, that trying to process all of that at once is, like a clusterfuck in here, I would say.